There must come a point in the life of a nation, of a continent, of a community that some people will decide on the way forward. And for us in Africa, that time has already come, where the visionaries, where the dreamers, where people who think differently on how Africa should be must come to the center stage and begin to proffer solutions and ideas that can transform Africa. Today, I am so pleased to introduce one of the finest minds in Africa, an Amazon indeed, a gift, and incidentally, her name is Gift. I introduce to you no other person but the visionary, the publisher, the dreamer behind the New Africa magazine, no other person than Dr. Gift Oriaru. I don't know whether I pronounced the second name correctly.
Even though I prefer the name to be pronounced completely.
Okay, Dr. Gift Chidima Nnamoko Oriaru.
Exactly.
Aka CNO, Dr. CNO. So it's quite a pleasure to have you here. There's quite a lot you've done so far for more than almost 2 decades now, 17 years. The New Africa magazine has been in existence.
Precisely.
19 years now. Incredible stories, incredible narratives and profiles of people who have contributed immensely to the betterment of our continent. But is it possible to have the New Africa?
I believe it's possible. However, we need to go through the right process to make it possible. I think when people hear the word New Africa, the first thing that comes to mind is, are we going to give birth to a whole new geographical map out for Africa? But the truth is, that's not what the New Africa entails. The New Africa actually is where we can now have a mind shift for the Africans. Our older generation, and those that are ahead of us, some of us have done so much to contribute towards the growth development, from where we used to be to where we are. However, political interference, social interference has actually reshaped Africa to bring us to where we are right now. The world might label us corrupt, they've labeled us poor. However, that's where the vision was birthed. We in the New Africa want to change the narrative. We want to tell our story in our own way, because it's high time the world hears Africa from the African point of view, from our own perspective, because who best to tell our story if not us? That is how the New African magazine was actually bettered. And along the line, we've been, telling the African story, showcasing what we have and all of that. But it's not just enough to tell the story. In the story, there are action plans that need to be rolled out. People should be able to see Africa from what Africa actually is. And how best can we do that if we don't start acting on what we are, preaching, right? So,
and by that, what do you mean acting on what we are preaching?
Yeah.
Like living it out, just walking the talk. So how do we walk the talk?
Now, like I earlier said, there's going to be a lot of mind shifts. This process is actually not going to take that short route to achieve. It's going to take a longer process. And I believe that we may not have gotten there yet, but we are on the process of achieving this.
How is this different from a lot of the noise or rhetorics in quote that we have across Africa? Because times there are moments we see people come up with things like activism, want to change this government, there's too much corruption here, let's get them out. And these political juggernauts or gerontocrats or whatever you call them have been on the scene for decades. They will not just let go something they have fought for with all of their life for somebody who thinks he has incredible ideas and dreams to transform Africa. What approach are you bringing on board that is different from what others are doing in terms of criticizing, lampooning the people who are corrupt in government? And I realize, for instance, like in Nigeria, and this is also typical of other countries in Africa, sometimes people only criticize because they don't have the opportunity. But once they're in power, they are sometimes even smarter and more certified and refined criminals than the ones who have been there. What approach would you like to profile, or would you want to suggest for Africa that will be different from what others are doing, so that within the time frame that you're envisaging, we can truly have new people come to the center stage of power?
Okay, when people hear what I do or the name we carry, first thing they target political. However, what we are doing is totally not politics. Okay, we don't believe in quick fix. Let me give an example. It's an African adage that says people don't learn left hand at an old age, right? You learn it when you're a child. So right now, Africa is not a child. So if you want them to do something different from what they know, you need to start getting a process. And the process is not just the regular process, it's a mindset shift. Now we're capitalizing on the younger generation.
Yeah.
I was speaking to a friend of mine, and he said, why don't we leave the older generation to fade away? Nobody that is up to 60 years today will be around in the next 40 years.
Yes.
Unless they are going to
even if they are alive, they're irrelevant.
Exactly.
For a lot of things.
Exactly. Well, Africa, we still have a lot of generations to catch up. We're still growing. We're still getting there. So, and the strategy ongoing already as we speak is getting this younger generation to tell them our history. Because sometimes people often just start running without knowing where they're coming from.
And not also understanding the core, the cost of what they're doing.
Exactly. Our foundation as Africans, we are very, very fundamental when it comes to culture, our beliefs. We stand for the right thing.
Yes.
Okay, that is what our grandfathers taught us. Okay, now if we go back to where we are coming from, now help the younger generation understand the future. A blend of our yesterday and our future will enable us understand our present. Now, in the New Africa, we created an institute on how to help the next generation understand that the power is in their hands if they can take kind of responsibilities. And that's why we actually came through economy. We want to teach our younger generation on how to become economically independent, create jobs, manage what they have. It beats me so hard that Africa is one continent that has it all and looks like it has nothing.
Yes.
It beat me so badly.
And we have had these aids for decades and decades, and we have not been aided.
And we keep talking about this. It's now looking like a broken record. Everybody talks about the same thing, but the question is, in all this thing we talk about, how is this process impacting us?
Because you have a strong point there. He who controls the economy controls the nation.
Absolutely.
So if we can focus on that to a large extent.
One of the vision we have is every year we raise at least 10,000 African millionaires.
Wow.
The question is that possible? But I will tell you categorically, yes, it is possible.
And how long will it take you to raise those millionaires?
It depends. Now, like I said, success is a process.
Yes.
But if you go through mentorship, you realize that the process that would have taken you 30 years might end up taking you for like 2 years.
Yes.
Because you're not going to make the same mistake your mentors made and all of that. I'm privileged to actually live in some part of Europe. And then when I got there, I studied how powerful the economy is and what made the economy powerful. And I realized that one of the problems we have in Africa is the kind of education we embark on. Now, in Africa, they teach us how to serve. That's what we will go to 4 years in school to go learn. How to become a civil servant, how to become a servant, how to become a servant. Okay? But they hardly teach us how to manage wealth and success, how to become productive. Now, if you look around, there was a time, the era in Africa came where everyone is now learning skill. Everybody's learning skill. But of these skills end up becoming a one-man business skill.
Yes, they were not able to scale up
most
beyond
of them
themselves.
Can't even sustain themselves and their family with those skills, despite how amazing those skills were.
It has remained in a survival mode.
Exactly. So one of the things we are putting together in creating New Africa is to help young people not just learn skills, but understand how to manage those skills and turn those skills into multinationals. It's possible.
I agree with you, and that speaks to another aspect of I think we're facing out this generation too of these teachers who have not practically learned the lessons.
Exactly.
People who want to make millionaires. I had a story, I don't know if you've heard of this funny story, of the man who wrote a book on 21 ways to become a millionaire, and he went to his friend to borrow money to publish the book. So we're like, if the thing works for you, why didn't you have the million? Exactly. So I think that's one of the challenge we have. So these days you have young people come up, somebody is on Facebook and he's already a CEO.
Exactly.
And the CEO is on his phone. He doesn't even have a bag with documents and all of that. How do we help young Africans to understand that collaborations and partnerships with people who possibly share the same dream is a better way of going forward than trying to be solo? Almost all the time, it's like people just want to arrive at the speed of lightning. And it's not possible. Success is a process. There's a lot of work that comes into it. Is that part of the package of what you'll be talking about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. That is it. People can't do what they don't know. We need to start encouraging organizations and groups to create more awareness on collaborations, the importance of collaborations, the benefit of collaborations. A lot of people just want to answer CEO with an empty portfolio. It doesn't make you a CEO. It just makes you a shop owner.
Yeah. At best.
Yeah, because business, there's a lot of things that makes up the component of being a businessman or a businesswoman.
Yes.
There's a lot of things, creating awareness.
Yes.
Making people understand the power they have and they're not using. That could also go a long way.
Well, I really believe in these dreams, and I know that together with collaborations and partnerships across the continent, a lot can be done. There's a lot in Africa, and of course, because of your very tight schedules, we would have had a longer conversation today, but this is just an introduction to many things to come. I believe, like you have said, that there is a lot that can be harnessed in terms of our potentials. The vast human and natural resources in Africa is just mind-blowing. We have everything we need in this continent. If we're able to harness it, if we get the right leadership, if we're able to influence the right thoughtful actions, coordinate the activities we're doing, we can go far as a nation. And I believe that the New Africa magazine is just a vision whose time has come.
Yes.
And it needs to be executed, it needs to be pursued, and together we can become a better continent. Well, our viewers, this is how much we can take for today, and I know that in our subsequent edition, a lot more discussion will be done with Dr. Sieno, our delectable, intelligent encyclopedia of possibilities. But a lot more is coming your way from the New Africa magazine. I can assure you that we can do a lot as a continent. If we focus on it, if we give it our everything, we can not only climb Mount Everest, but we will reach heights that we have never imagined possible. In fact, from our desert, the plantations will run. From our arid, dry places, possibilities will spring up. From our mechanic shops by the roadside, the silicon of Africa will come up. I believe that there's so much that can be done with Africa. Our cinematographers are incredibly gifted people. You are yet to see the things that will change the possibility of the world. And Africa will become the place of modern civilization that will be exported to other continents of the world. See you guys again next time.